Hi, my name is Tom Rawls and I'm the pastor here at Proclaimers, and I'd like to welcome you to our YouTube channel. Sunday by Sunday we take great delight in sharing what the Bible has to say. The Bible, probably one of the most relevant books in the entire world, with principles that touch every area of our lives. One of the key ingredients to the life of our church and its preaching is the variety of those who actually get up and speak. From myself with over 40 years of experience, Dr. Phil Temple, who is a psychiatrist, doctor, medical doctor, again with 15 years of experience at preaching. We've just had such a phenomenal blessing by having so many great speakers. We hope you enjoy this particular YouTube video of our latest ministry here at Proclaimers. So thank you again for joining us and God bless you.
Just having a little dance there with Sam. That was lovely. Anyone else know Mark Harvey up here dancing? Just 4 girls, enjoying himself, leading us in worship, obviously. Just, Anyway, how is everyone? Good. I've just returned from our Ipswich campus this morning, where we had a great time. Ruth came all the way back up again. She said, just to hear me speak again, which was really good of her. She sat beside a boy, but I don't know if that's got anything to do with it either. But anyway, she came all the way up here. I went all the way down there. Mark and Abby and Jason also came along. They went down separately. We both got caught by speeding cameras. But, it's all good. It's all good. We were excited to get there, so that's why we were driving fast. Anyway, we're continuing our series, Fatal Distractions. It's been absolutely incredible so far, and I really encourage you, if you've missed any, please jump online, listen to them, because they have been absolutely outstanding and just absolutely amazing. And so I just encourage you to get on board and to listen to some of those. And tonight I'm going to take you, for some of us in this room, we're going to do a little bit of reminiscing. For some of you, it's going to be an education, because tonight I'm going to take you back to the summer of 2001. Anyone remember the summer of 2001? Wow, not many of you at all. No, seriously, come on, show your age if you can remember the summer of 2001. Awesome. A little bit. Great. The summer of 2001. It was an incredible summer. Quite often people refer to the summer of 2001 as possibly the greatest summer ever. And if you weren't there, you missed it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But the summer of 2001, blockbuster movies were in the cinema. Shrek, Lord of the Rings. And it was the very first in the start of a long-running series of The Fast and the Furious. 2001 has got a lot to be ashamed of. The radio was playing incredible tunes. Shackles, Praise You. Anyone else remember that? Destiny's Child, Jumpin'. For the little more the emo side of stuff, All the Small Things and Teenage Dirtbag were blasting out of radios all across the UK. Britney and Justin were still together and wearing awful outfits such as this one that's going to be up here behind me. And we get the full length picture as well. Look at that. Look at that. It's beautiful, isn't it? It was my inspiration for everyday living. It wasn't. I was 19 at the time, and I was into indie music, and that was the thing that that I really enjoyed. It was the thing that I loved, and during that time, that meant only one thing for me: that I was dressed as best as I could, like an indie kid. I was dressed in slightly low-slung, slightly boot-cut jeans, a really tight-fitting retro T-shirt. Double-strap Birkenstocks, no socks, it was the summer after all. Maybe a pair of Wallabies, who knows? And you're all thinking, what on earth is he on about? But that is what I was wearing. And every summer or every Friday night we would take a pilgrimage to the local indie hangout in Norwich, which was the Murderers Pub, where we would go along to meet with all of the other indie wannabes. There, we'd all go along, and just to hang out, just to be acknowledged by this other group of people, other like-minded people, to find acknowledgement, to find, just a bit of comfort, to find a bit of reassurance from this amazing group of people, from our peers. However, for me, as I strolled into that pub every week, there was always something that I remember. There was a feeling that something was missing. Were my jeans boot-cut enough? Was my indie mullet suitably styled? Would I go through into that place and be accepted and be acknowledged by my peers? I would go through the checklist. Hair, check, I've got that. Some of us haven't, but I have. But I had it. Bootcut jeans, check. Tight-fitting retro t-shirt, check. Wallabies on, check. Pint in hand, check. But despite all the boxes being ticked, I felt like there just wasn't enough. I felt like there was something that just wasn't quite right. Something quite wasn't there. It wasn't perfection. It wasn't quite ready. And there was something in me that there was a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. And I didn't know what it was, but I just felt that there was just something missing. Despite my well-groomed mullet and carefully selected retro tee, it just didn't seem enough. And something was missing. And one night in that pub, it dawned on me that there was something missing. And that something was a denim jacket. Of course, I was missing a denim jacket. And so there began my long and arduous journey. There's a bit of knowledge there for you guys. Ever in doubt? Denim jacket. Anyway, there began my long and arduous journey to find the perfect denim jacket. And this was 2001, so this meant hunting high and low before the days of internet shopping. This meant going into shops. This meant looking through catalogs. This meant picking up the phone and calling shops to ask if they actually had an item in stock. And finally, I found the perfect jacket, the one that was going to make all the difference. And it arrived, and that Friday, as I swaggered into the pub in full denim tux, no shame, full denim tux, guess what? I felt exactly that same feeling that I'd felt every week. Something was missing. Something was incomplete. It felt like I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. I needed something else. But what was that something? And in my feeble search for self-worth, for approval, for to be accepted and acknowledged by other people, I was making a fatal error. I was trying to base my self-worth on not who I was, but actually on external factors. I was looking at being distracted by what I wore, what I listened to, what I associated with, believing that these things would be the things that would carry me through life, that these were the things that would give me the affirmation that I required, and that this would be the thing that would, just carry me through the rest of my life. And the issue with this distraction is that it has us fighting this battle that we never seem to be able to win. It has us fighting this cycle of perpetual need for more, for desiring more, for needing more. And it's always left us in that place of feeling that we're not enough or that we don't have enough. And whether it's through academic performance, maybe it's through appearance, maybe it's through approval from others, maybe it's money or popularity or status, relationships, we all have a sense of needing or to be needing more. And it's a distraction that will cause us to consume more and more, to run up debts, to spend more than we can ever afford to feel like we're constantly in this place of lack. It will cause us to move from one relationship to the next. It will cause us to move from one marriage to the next, all in search of the next best thing. It will have us constantly chasing the new car, the bigger house, the next job promotion. It will have us, putting ourselves under pressure to perform, under pressure to be and act a certain way, to be and act like someone that we aren't. And it's a distraction that leads us to believe that our self-worth is defined by what we have or what it is that we do. And it's a state that leads us to running in circles, constantly chasing our tails and never quite feeling enough. And so what is it that we can do and what is it that we can try to understand about where our self-worth comes from and what will help us to escape this fatal distraction? And today I want us to look at an account found in Luke 19. And it's an account of a man who found himself caught in this fatal distraction, being defined by the things that he was chasing. And this man's name is Zacchaeus. And some of us will know the story, some of us maybe don't. It's going to be on the screen in a moment. But there's something that we should remember as we read this account. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. Actually, he was a chief tax collector. And he was a really, really short man. And this is important. But let's read it on. It's going to be on the screen. It says in Luke 19, 1-10, it says, Jesus entered Jericho and was making his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region and had become very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed up a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your house today. Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. But the people were displeased. He has gone to be a guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half of my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. And Jesus responded, salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save those who are lost. And as we've said, Zacchaeus is a tax collector. In fact, he was a chief tax collector, and that makes him a very wealthy and very powerful person. The Israelites of Jesus' day looked at tax collectors as thieves and robbers. Tax collectors were Jews who worked for the Roman Empire, for the people who currently governed Israel at the time. And their job was to collect the taxes from their own people and hand that money over to this hated foreign power. Their own income came from basically robbing other people, from putting the prices higher than they needed them to be and skimming off the top. They were stealing and cheating their own people, which meant that they weren't exactly welcome at the local synagogue on a Sunday. And at some point, years before, Zacchaeus he'd been recruited by the Romans, perhaps looking for something that would define him, something that would give him a purpose, something that would approve him. And he was probably a bit of a prodigy. He would have started out as, an assistant tax collector, and basically as he proved his worth, as he showed how good he was at doing this, he would have been raised to a tax collector. And as we eventually find in this story, he has become the chief tax collector, which means that basically he has got a load of minions underneath him, and as they collect taxes, they skim a bit off the top, and they give that to Zacchaeus as well. This makes Zacchaeus a major player in Jericho. But it's also caused him to be rejected and looked down upon by his own people, maybe even his own family and friends. He's infamous, legendary, notorious, but all of it has come at a price. At some point in Zacchaeus' journey, he has allowed this pursuit of money, of wealth, and of status, of power to distract him. And Zacchaeus has become a reject, an outcast. The Jews don't want to know him, and the Romans only want to use him for what they can get from him. And it's a search that's led him to be found sat in the branches of a sycamore tree. Now, there's a rumor going around that this Jesus might be the promised Messiah, and he's going to pass through Jericho. And Zacchaeus, he's grown up in Jewish culture, and he would have been familiar with these stories about how this Messiah was going to come and rescue Israel from all their oppressors. And so Zacchaeus is starting to think, man, am I going to check this Jesus out? This Jesus is building up quite a following. He's getting up, and a lot of people are interested in him. So I'm going to go and check him out. I'm curious to see what he's all about. And Zacchaeus was all about status. So you don't become a tax collector and then a chief tax collector without liking money and status. He was famous, but in a negative sense, but famous nonetheless. And Jesus starts strolling through town, and people are lining the streets. They're cramming around Jesus to possibly just get a chance to look at Jesus. All the religious leaders are there hoping just for a little conversation, maybe a little hello, maybe a high five from Jesus. And they're all packing around these people. And Zacchaeus realizes he can't see over the crowd. He can't see over people's heads, short people problems. But there is Zacchaeus, and he's thinking to himself, how am I going to see this Jesus? And so he decides that he's going to run ahead and to get a bit of a better elevation to see Jesus. And so he hitches up his blinged out robe, and he's running along the streets, gold chains clanging all over the place. And he climbs up a sycamore tree. Then, to Zacchaeus' surprise, Jesus arrives and stops under the tree, and he looks up at him, and he calls him by name. He says, Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus is there, and he's like, whoa, how does this guy know my name? I don't even know him, but how does he know who I am? Who told you about me? And they say that the sweetest sound to a human being's ears is the sound of your own name. And God calls this rejected, hardened, selfish man by his name. He says, Zacchaeus, hurry down, I'm heading over to your house right now. And Zacchaeus is absolutely stunned. He's like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Okay, cool. And so he calls up his boys, and they all go over to have lunch with Jesus. And Zacchaeus is just relishing this moment. As we said, all these Jewish leaders are wanting to get a moment, with Jesus. Yet Zacchaeus has been the one who's been invited to hang out with Jesus. And in that moment, he's there and he's thinking, man, check me out. This is my moment in the limelight. But that afternoon, something unexpected and something unexplainable began to happen in Zacchaeus' heart. How long did he have an audience with the living God? 2 hours? 4 hours? We don't know. What did they talk about? We can only really guess. We can assume that they probably ate a meal together, and Jesus probably listened a lot. And Zacchaeus must have thought, nobody listens to me except for the guys who work for me. But this guy cares. This guy, he listens, he gets it. And I can imagine Zacchaeus sitting there, looking into the most compassionate eyes he's ever seen and thinking, does Jesus know who I am? No, does he really know the things that define my identity? Does he know who is sitting around this table? Does he know the things that I do for a living? Does he know where the money came for to pay for this meal? Does he know how I paid for this house? And he comes to the realization that he must know, but he doesn't reject me. And after a few hours with Jesus, Zacchaeus just can't contain himself any longer. Abruptly, he stands up, seemingly overwhelmed by who Jesus is. And in front of family, peers, and employees, he blurts out, "That's it, I'm changing everything. I'm changing everything. Jesus, I'm going to start giving away all my money. And if I've robbed from someone, I'm going to give them back 4 times what I've stolen." The callous, money-hungry mob boss is about to grow broke, and he doesn't even care. A moment with Jesus has changed everything in this man's life. And I wonder, what did Jesus say in one short afternoon that could possibly change the life of a lifelong taker into someone who's the most generous and lavish giver? But that's not the point of this message. It wasn't what Zacchaeus talked about. It was the person that he talked about it with. It was about being with Jesus. What changed Zacchaeus? Was it biblical principles? Was it personal development? Was it religious duty and deeds? No, it was just a few moments with God in flesh. We don't even have a record of anyone telling Zacchaeus that he needed to repent or to give away his money. But something came over this man when he encountered Jesus. And the truth is, I am Zacchaeus. The truth is, we are all Zacchaeus. I may not be short in stature, but I'm short spiritually. I'm short in my own abilities and in my own capacity. I've been distracted by performance, by appearance, by intellect, but I'm left feeling like I'm not enough, that I don't have what it takes. And even if I wanted to get to Jesus, even if I wanted to see Jesus, I can't get past myself. I can't get past my failings, my sin, my distractions, my ego, my personal self-worth or value. And so how do we try and reach Jesus? How do we try to get noticed? We run faster and we climb these proverbial trees of religious action, trees of academia, trees of materialism. We work harder, we study harder, we work out more, we chase more. We think, man, if I can just get Jesus' attention, I'll impress Jesus with who I am. I'll impress him by what I've done, what I've achieved, all the amazing things that I have in my home, by my wallabies and my bootcut jeans. I'll impress Jesus with all of these things. And I believe most people have a sense of inadequacy and failure deep within themselves. No matter how hard we try or what we accomplish, we know that we'll never truly feel like we are enough. We are short in our spiritual sense, and we come short of those glorious standards of God, and we think, I'll run faster. Man, I'll just try harder. God, I'll pray more. I'll read my Bible more. I'll work more hours. I'll work more shifts. I'll do whatever I can to garner and to get God's attention. I'll find some sort of tree and I'll climb up it, and I'll grab God's attention. And I'm going to run, and I'm just going to do all that I can in order to say, God, here I am. But that's not what saved Zacchaeus. It was God's mercy. It was God's grace. It was God's initiative. We think God stops and takes notices of us because we're good at praying, or because we've read our Bible this week, or because we've turned up to church every Sunday for the last month. You know, we think that these are the things that catches God's attention, and we try with all our might to say, hey, God, look at me, I'm praying loudly, I'm worshiping the best I can ever worship Jesus, here I am. But that's not why Jesus stopped that day. He stopped of his own choosing. He stopped because he's gracious and he's good. He stopped because he knew Zacchaeus by name. just as he knows me and he knows you by name. Jesus told Zacchaeus to hurry down, and he tells us the same thing. Hey, hurry down from religion. Hurry down from traditions. Hurry down from those achievements. Hurry down from your privilege. Hurry down from your knowledge. Hurry down from your, appearance. Hurry down from your status. Hurry down from your relationships. Hurry down. Hurry down. Only my grace can save you. Come down, and come down now. Don't spend another moment or another day trusting yourself, trusting puny external factors which change from one moment to the next. I want to be with you today. But now he makes an announcement of his own. Jesus says, today salvation has come to this house. Zacchaeus is a son of Abraham, a true Jew, and Zacchaeus is stunned. He's the traitor, he's the bad guy. He's the complete opposite of a good Jew. And for as long as he can remember, he's been an outsider looking in. And now he's on the inside. Now he's a good guy. All because of a meeting with Jesus. And if there's hope for Zacchaeus, then there must be hope for me, and there must be hope for you. And so what is it that we can learn from Zacchaeus, and what is it that we can do to help us on a daily basis? And the first thing that blows me away by this story is, who are you talking to? Because a moment with Jesus changed the direction of Zacchaeus' life. He went from being a consumer to the most generous giver. We don't know what was said during that visit. We don't know what was or what wasn't discussed. It wasn't about what was said, but rather who Zacchaeus was talking to. And the same is true for our lives. Who is it that you are talking to? Who is it that you are allowing to influence your life, your decisions, your actions? Are these individuals having a positive impact on your self-worth? In the life of Proclaimers, we have a saying. It says, show me your friends and I will show you your future. And it's so important that we allow the right people to influence our lives. And perhaps this week we need to go from this place and we need to take stock of who it is that we are allowing to influence our lives. Perhaps this week we need to take stock of the things that we are saying to ourselves. I mean, Helena spoke an incredible message last week about taking thoughts captive and measuring them up to what God says. And if you didn't hear it, I encourage you to take a listen to it. Because we need to allow His opinion to be the thing that defines who we are. Whether you call yourself a Christian or not, I want to encourage you to go and to look in the Bible and to see what it is that God says about you. Because the truth is, it will begin to transform your life. You know, the people told Zacchaeus that he was excluded. Jesus told him that he was included. The people called him rejected, but Jesus called him accepted. They called him an outsider, but to Jesus, he was an insider. You know, what does God say about you? What does God say about the things that you have allowed to define your life? What does He say about the hurt? What does He say about the illness? What does He say about the healing that you need on the inside? What does He say about the peace that He'll bring to you? You know, this week we need to take time to discover what Jesus says about who we are. To take time this week and to start replacing the ideas that we've built up in our lives with the truth of who God is. And it will begin to change our lives. You know, at home, as we leave our house, we've got 3 posters that line our walls. And they're words that say brave, kind, and loved. And it's the 3 words that I could think of most that I'd love my children to be defined by. That they're brave. That they can go into every single situation and know that I can be brave. That I can make the best decisions because I'm brave. I'm kind, so therefore I can go and I can love others. And you know what? More than anything, that I am loved. I come from a place of love, knowing that I am worthy, that I am valued, that I am strong. And the same is true for you and me. I may be a 37-year-old man. I'm no longer a 19-year-old indie wannabe. But these are words that I need to remind myself of. These are words that I need to tell myself that I am an individual who is loved by God, that I'm an individual who God wants to use, that I'm an individual who God says has a great purpose and an impact on people around us. And the same is true for you Find out what God says about who you are and allow those things to be the thing that define who you are. And the second greatest thing that I find in this story is the fact that Jesus calls Zacchaeus by his name. And I find that amazing. You know, Jesus is strolling through this place called Jericho. And he strolls up to a tree and he just finds a guy and he just says Zacchaeus. I mean, it's not the first name that you would choose if you didn't know someone's name, is it? You know, you're not going to stroll in there and be like, David? Paul, Peter. But Jesus knew Zacchaeus by name. How did he know that? I mean, we could say, yeah, well, he's God, so therefore he knows everything about us. But I don't think that's the truth. I think that Jesus found out who this guy was. Jesus wanted to know who this guy was. Jesus asked around, who's that guy? Who's this guy? And they called him Zacchaeus. Because I think that Jesus wanted to meet Zacchaeus no matter what. No matter if there'd been a crowd or not. No matter if he'd have got into that tree or not. Jesus was willing to wade through that crowd in order to find to find Zacchaeus and to call his name. To say, hey, Zacchaeus, I know who you are. I know what you've allowed to define yourself. I know what you've used to give yourself a bit of self-worth. But I know you by name. And Jesus is looking for you. Jesus wants to be involved in your life. He's not fussed by what you have or what you don't have. He's not interested in your bank balance, whether you've got a degree or not. He just wants to know you. No jumping through hoops. No trying to impress him. Jesus simply wants to know you today. And for some of us, like Zacchaeus, we just need to spend time with Jesus. Jesus is calling your name and he wants to hang out with you. He wants to be involved in your everyday life, in your successes, in your failures, in the good, in the bad. Jesus just wants to be there. Don't hide from him in shame or reject him in self-righteousness. Don't allow other people's opinions shape your concept of him. Get to know him for yourself and let the goodness of God change you from the inside out. You know, tomorrow when you wake up, when there's pressure to perform, when there's pressure to wear those labels, to be defined by something else, will you respond to Jesus? As he calls your name, will you say, Jesus, here I am. Jesus, here I am. When you go to walk out that door, will you say, Jesus, here I am? Because Jesus is calling your name. You know, imagine how different your life could look if we could put into practice the truths that we find in this account of Zacchaeus. Imagine the freedom that we can experience when we begin to understand that our self-worth, our value is not based upon what we have or what we don't have. It's not based upon the things we do or the things that we say, but rather on the goodness of a true, real, and living God. That true value isn't found in working hard. It's not found in trying our hardest to impress, but rather it's found in answering the invitation of Jesus as he calls your name, in accepting the truth of who Jesus says it is that you are. There is nothing that you need to do. There is nothing that you need to say in order to be accepted by God. And this is true self-worth, and it comes through friendship with Jesus. And in a moment, what we want to do is we want to just give everyone an opportunity just to respond to that invitation that Jesus gives to us today. As Jesus is in this place, he is calling you by name. And we want to give you an opportunity to respond to that. But before we do, we're going to sing a song. And that's that song that we sang earlier that talks about how we're not enough. And if you're in this place and you've ever felt like you're not enough, I want to encourage you, let's sing this song out. Let's sing out the truth of these words that says that I'm no longer forsaken, but actually in Jesus I found all that I need. I found all the value, I found all the purpose, I found all the self-worth that I could ever possibly need. And so I'm going to hand over to the band, and come on, let's stand and let's sing right now. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, thank you for joining us for this YouTube video presentation of our latest ministry. We hope you really enjoyed it, and if you did, why don't you subscribe to our channel? Better still, send us some feedback. If you have questions, let us know. We'd be more than happy to interact and engage with you. Thank you again, and we hope that you will join us soon why not try and make it to one of our services one Sunday? We're meeting here in Norwich from 10:30 a.m. and then again at 5 p.m. at night. We'd love to see you. God bless you.